That was a terrible, terrible segue. Hi guys, I'm Amy. Welcome back to my channel. Today I have a book haul for all of you. It's been a little while since I've done a book haul. I believe it was my Christmas book haul. That was the last one I posted. So I have quite the stack here and quite the variety, shall we say, in selection. I'm not going to go into a ton of detail about these books though, because there's a lot of them. We don't need to be here forever, and I also haven't read them yet. So you all are perfectly capable of finding descriptions of these books and don't need me to read them to you. But without further ado, let's get to the new books. We will start with some thrift store finds that I have. The House Girl by Tara Conklin, which is a dual timeline story about a house slave in Virginia on a tobacco plantation, and then a young woman who's working as a lawyer in the present day storyline. I also found Things Fall Apart by Chinua Achebe. This was listed on PBS's Great American Reads. I don't need to know any more to bring a book home. And I also was really excited to find The Martian by Andy Weir. This is one of my husband's favorite books, and I really do genuinely want to read it, but didn't have a copy, so I was excited to find one. And the last of the thrifting finds is The Good Earth by Pearl S. Buck. This is a story that I have made no secret about the fact that when I read it in high school, I genuinely hated this book. But since rereading some other titles that I really disliked in high school and found that I really enjoyed them as an adult, I figured maybe we should give The Good Earth another shot as well. I also found a copy at my favorite used bookstore here in town. The next bunch of books will be coming from that bookstore, which I frequently. But I found Daughter of the Forest by Juliette Marelier. I apologize, I don't know how to pronounce her name, but this is a fantasy that everyone seems to be loving right now, and it's been a while since I picked up a fantasy, and I want one that's going to be really compelling. And this one, excuse me, sounds like that's exactly what it is, so excited to get to this one. And another fantasy that I found is a YA book that, again, I don't know a whole lot about, but the buzz about it's been really good, even from people who don't generally read YA, and that is The Gilded Wolves by Roshani Chokshi. This book takes place in Paris. It sounds like there's kind of like this underground secret society type situation. There's some magic involved, I'm pretty sure, and those are all some buzzwords that sound pretty cool, and I like to read a YA now and then, and this one definitely piqued my interest. A couple book of the month choices. I have A Woman Is No Man by Itaf Rum. This is a debut novel about several generations in a American Pakistani family living in Brooklyn, all female characters, and just how they cope with what's expected of them and what they want to do with their lives. A theme that I really, really enjoy reading, and I've heard really good things about this book, so I'm pretty excited. And the other book of the month book that I have is Queenie by Candice Carty-Williams. This is a story about a Jamaican-British woman living in London and her personal life and her friendships. And from what I've heard, it's very character-focused, which we all know I love. And I wasn't super excited when I picked this one, but now I am really excited about it, which is always, that's a good thing, to be excited about the books that you buy. I also found a beautiful copy of East of Eden by John Steinbeck. Recently, having reread Of Mice and Men by him, and had the first time reading it, really disliked it. The second time reading it in the fall, absolutely loving it. I felt like I needed to read more Steinbeck. I also have read Grapes of Wrath and do want to reread this one, but when Doris read this book and absolutely raved about it, I really didn't need another reason to pick it up, so it's a bit of a chunker, but I seriously cannot wait to get to this one. Another booktuber recommendation from Sean, the Book Maniac. He recently reviewed this book, and it is one of his favorite books ever now. And again, what more do you need to know? And that is The Known World by Edward P. Jones. This is a story about a black slave owner. That sounds so interesting and compelling, and everything that Sean said about this book just sounded amazing. I will link his review of this book down below, but I'm really, really, really excited about this one. Like, really excited. A medieval historical fiction pick that I have high hopes for, even though I haven't really heard a whole lot about it. It's just one of those, is Hild by Nicola Griffith. This is about oh, what's her name? Saint Hilda of Whitby, who is a young girl. Her uncle is the king of the surrounding region, and she kind of becomes his, what's the word I'm looking for? Advisor. That's the word I'm looking for. Advisor. And this is about how she navigates that and protects her family and the advice she gives him. And it just sounds so cool. Once again, a story about a woman doing things that she supposedly shouldn't do. And we all know I enjoy those types of stories. And I mean, that cover, is that not cover really cool? Another one that I'm, shall we say, excited about. I also found a copy of Bring Up the Bodies by Hilary Mantel. Of course, the second book, or the follow-up book to Wolf Hall. I've not yet read Wolf Hall, but intend to do so again soon. So many books I want to read soon. It's always soon, and it doesn't always end up that way, but you all are readers. You know how that goes. So I don't really know the details of this one. Don't want to, because I haven't read the first one, but when I found it in the same edition, I just figured, why not? Strange Practice by Vivian Shaw, which is a Dr. Greta Helsing novel. Dr. Greta Helsing is a doctor to the undead, to vampires and banshees and such in London. And when a group of murderous monks, is that the word I'm looking for? Yes, come into London, killing both supernatural and typical people alike, she sets out to find out what is happening. It just sounds like a lot of fun and like a perfect read for Halloween, so I might save it for that. I've heard some pretty fun things about this book and was excited when I found it. The Lonely Hearts Hotel by Heather O'Neill. This is a book that has had some pretty polarizing opinions as far as whether or not people enjoyed it, but I am, to be honest with you, getting some pseudo Night Circus vibes as far as the atmosphere with this book. I could be totally off on that, but it's about two orphans who I believe fall in love. Loki's running into the tripod. Anyway, fall in love and then they're torn apart, and it's about them, I believe, trying to find each other again and all the things that happen along the way, and it just sounds really good, I gotta be honest. A lot of people have talked about Lauren Groff here on BookTube. She seems to be so well loved, and I've yet to read her, although I have to say, this book that I bought of hers, I haven't heard anybody say anything about. But I do really want to give her a shot, so I don't know. We're gonna see how it goes. And that is The Monsters of Templeton. This is about a woman who swears up and down she's never going back to her hometown, and then exactly that ends up happening, and something to do with monsters in her hometown. So again, I don't know a whole lot, but that sounds incredibly intriguing, and this cover is super, super cool. Definitely a pretty book. But excited to give Lauren Groff a shot. Loki's still hitting the tripod. Just because I've heard so many wonderful things about her books. I also picked up a short story collection because currently I only have one short story collection on my shelves unread, and I found The Interpreter of Maladies by Jhumpa Lahiri. Kendra Winchester has only raved about this author, and that's all I needed to know to pick it up. This book also won the Pulitzer Prize, so obviously it is well loved, and it's short, so a quick read that I really gotta prioritize because I have a feeling I'm gonna love this book a lot. And because I read Bitter Orange by Claire Fuller for the BookTube Prize and loved it so much, I've kind of wondered if there's some books that I have been choosing not to read that I should give a shot to. And one of those books that seems to me that has like a similar vibe, I guess we could say, to what I think is similar to Bitter Orange, I'm struggling right now, aren't I? Is Everything I Never Told You by Celeste Ng. People adore this book, and I always wrote it off because it just seemed too intense for me, just not up my alley. But now I wonder if I need to give it a shot, because I also heard, I don't remember who it was, a lady, a young booktuber, not young, I don't know why I added this, a booktuber chat about this book in a way that I found it very compelling. So, and it's also really short. I don't know if I realized how short it is. But I'm gonna try and expand my horizons by reading this one. I also have recently joined a like real life in-person RL book club, which is so exciting, and I'll have to share that story with you guys another time because it really is a great story. So I have read one of these books already for the book club, and then the other book is the one that we will be reading for the month of April. So the book that I read is Cutting for Stone by Abraham Verghese. This is the story of twin brothers who are born of an Indian nun and a British surgeon in Ethiopia at a missionary hospital, and it's about their lives and how they grow up and how they both go into the medical profession. And I will be telling you guys more of my thoughts in a wrap-up here shortly, but it was definitely an intriguing read. Intriguing read. A bit of a chunker, but definitely intriguing. And the next book that we will be reading is The Library at Mount Char by Scott Hawkins. This is like a urban fantasy, potentially, about a group of kids or people who grow up in this house in this library in which they have to do nothing but like gain all this knowledge, and their guardian just might be God. It seems so strange, but I'm really excited about it for that reason. I also just thought I'd quickly mention the books that I had to purchase for round 1 of the BookTube prize that I needed to read. I already mentioned Bitter Orange by Claire Fuller, and then I also have The Female Persuasion by Meg Wolitzer, The Shepherd's Hut by Tim Winton, Girls Burn Brighter by Shobha Rao, and my favorite, Or Light by Michael Ondaatje. I will link my wrap-up to all of these up here in the cards for you guys if you haven't seen that yet and want to know my thoughts, because I have read all of those now. And because I loved Bitter Orange and Warlight so very much, I promptly ran out to get more books by said authors. So I picked up The English Patient by Michael Ondaatje, which is his book that won the Man Booker in the early 90s, I believe, and then also Anil's Ghost. The English Patient is about a group of people who end up in a house shortly after World War II, and there's this English patient that they don't know who this person is. He's not talking, and it's, I think, about how that kind of brings these people together and affects them. And Anil's Ghost is about a young woman. She's Sri Lankan, and she goes away to America and Britain to study forensic anthropology, and then goes back to Sri Lanka to study the mass murders happening in her country. And I'm so excited for both of these. And ironically enough, I also found Swimming Lessons by Claire Fuller, because I thought the cover, or the spine, excuse me, at the bookstore was just gorgeous. And when I was like, oh my gosh, that's Claire Fuller, I had to take it home. And this sounds to be another very, very compelling read about a woman who writes letters to her husband that she then hides in his personal library, which sounds to be exceedingly large. And then she disappears, and people assume she's drowned, and then 12 years later, her husband believes he sees her outside of a coffee shop. And that sounds so cool. Okay guys, I think we did it. I think I got through them in a pseudo quick time frame, although not with a lot of detail. But if you guys have read any of these books, let me know your thoughts, good, bad, otherwise. I welcome all opinions here on my channel. This is a place where I want everybody to have a voice. But if you guys like this video, please like it, and if you loved it, please subscribe, and we will see you in my next video. Happy reading!